So tonight, hopefully, this is the last review of the Asus X550V. That's what I'm hoping. Stay tuned. And we're live, coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere in Northeast Ohio. I'm O'Malley from O'Malley's Adventure, and this is the Fallout Shelter. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. We're going to geek out a little bit here with a tech review on my Asus X550V. It's sort of a year-in review coupled with the 3 other reviews I've done of it. Just the basic rundown of the machine itself. It's a Core i5 6300 HQ, 2.3 gigahertz, 4 cores, 4 threads. It has the onboard 530 graphics. It has a separate dedicated NVIDIA card, which is the GeForce 940 MX, which is decent. The graphics card is pretty basic. It's not anything like, if you're a gamer, it's probably a little bit on the low end. If you're like the average user, maybe somebody that does some light video editing and content creation, and I mean light, then it's adequate. And the couple of things that I've noticed along the way is the computer itself, if it was just streaming, does great. If it's just recording, it does great. But if you try to do multiple things, like streaming and recording like I'm doing right now, it says it's up to 100%, and this will spool up in turbo to 3 gigahertz, and I'm at like 2.8 right now. It has 8 gig of RAM. It's saying that I'm using 4. That being said, if I was to open up another program like Audacity and record an audio only version of what I'm doing now, that'll push it over the edge. It won't be you would probably on the video be able to hear the cooling fans kick on, and it would be able to keep up for maybe 5 minutes, and then just from the heat it'll start to throttle itself back. So for the entry-level guy, it's adequate, but it took me about a year, and I'm ready for something different. Not because of the problems I've had, but just because of the physical capability. The physical capabilities of the machine. It's just not enough anymore. So, to give you a little history, I bought the machine about a year ago. Worked great for about 5 months. Started to get some weird static coming through the speakers. Then it started making this little clicking and popping noise, and then the sound quit altogether. Everything on the machine worked great, it just didn't have any sound. So it's under warranty. I get a hold of Asus. They said, no problem, ship it to us. I had to pay for shipping. I sent it back to them. There's a quick turnaround, about 10 days. That's 10 days altogether, not working days, about a week and a half. Get the machine back, works great. It took about a month and a half. Static comes back, clicking comes back, sound goes out altogether. Box it up, send it back to Asus. I paid for shipping the second time. It's about a 10-day turnaround. The machine comes back and it works great. And then about a week after I got it back, the static started. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to end up having to send it back. Well, every time they sent it back, they would leave a folder on the desktop, and it had basically firmware updates that it had done. And I didn't pay attention to it at first, but after the second time, I noticed it changed a little bit. So when it started to fail that third time, I was just starting to do some research on the Windows 10 NVIDIA compatibility thing, and sure enough, some people were having problems with it, especially with the sound. So the computer set up to update itself at like 2 a.m. on a given day. One day I noticed no staticky, no high noise level, and the stuttering that it was starting to develop, it all but went away. So now here we are at the end of November, and it works just like the day I bought it. So my overall review of the computer itself would depend on which month of the past 12 that you talked to me. Because there was a couple times I was ready to throw it out the window and just scrap the whole idea, to ask them for a refund, do something. But it works. It's adequate for now for the setup that I have here in the fallout shelter. So I'm going to keep using it. Like I said this morning on my podcast, I can't give it anything less than like 3 3/4 stars out of 5. Simply because there was a problem with it, and Asus fixed it. The only thing I would say is, if it gets to a second time for the same problem, they should pick up the tab for shipping. But they stood by the machine, they fixed it, it works. Looking back, a couple upgrades, you can get this set up with a i7 processor and a couple other upgrades, a bigger solid state drive. The computer has 2 drives. It has a 256 gig solid state drive, which the operating system and everything runs off of, and it has a 1 terabyte 5400 RPM drive that's basically a storage drive. It's the first time I've experienced solid state drives, and if I keep the machine, I'm going to get rid of the 1 terabyte 5400 RPM drive and put another solid state in it. There's no comparison as far as boot time goes. You push the button, you turn around, grab some paper and pen, you sit down, and it's ready for your password, and you're up and running. I mean, it's goofy fast. So, like I said, all around, I'm going to keep it. It's a good machine. I would actually recommend this to other people, even though with AMD coming out with Ryzen and Intel coming out with their next generation of processors, there's not a lot of room left for this because this is a 6th generation i5. But if you would find one used for a good price, man, go for it. Especially if you can pick it up for less, like $400 and a quarter or less. I would say you were getting the better half of that. Like I said, just there's certain things that are just a little too labor intensive for it. Let's see, covered the RAM, the drives. Okay, the one drawback, and you can get that upgraded, well, could at the time get it upgraded on this machine, is it has the option to get a backlit keyboard or a red lettered keyboard. It's not backlit, it's red, and it looks like this. And that, my friends, is the biggest pain in the ass to look at if the lighting is hitting it kind of crazy ways, because the red will actually blend in with the matte black finish on the keys, and you can't see it. You'll end up tilting your screen. You'll tilt it back and forth to get the light from the screen to light up the keys, or shifting yourself wherever you're sitting. Get the backlit. The red, it kind of looks cool when you first take it out of the box, but other than that, don't do it. I think that's probably one of those little gimmicky look things that was an epic fail for Asus. And the fact that the mic there's one port, and when you plug something in, it'll ask you, do you want it to be the mic in, the headphone out, or the speaker out? Not necessarily a deal breaker, but there's still a lot of people that would much rather just have separate headphone mic ports versus picking. I understand on laptops you get into some space constraints, but give me 2 ports. I think there's enough room for that. Same with this guy. We talked about the jack on the cell phone. Most phones are getting rid of it. I say keep it. Same way with the laptops. If it has, a mic in and a headphone out, I don't see where that causes any major issues here in 2017. I think it can be done. Other than that, it's a keeper. I'm happy with it, and I'm hoping that this is the last review, because the things that I'm moving forward with really need a consistent computer. Can't go without it anymore. So that's it for tonight. The reason I was late is I was doing a podcast on Anchor FM with Nick Diaz of Knots. If you haven't downloaded Anchor yet, you got to do it. It's an all audio Twitter basically, but you can have call-ins. You're limited to 5 segments if it's something that you're putting up, but if you're doing like an interview like him and I did tonight, I believe we talked for 45 minutes, and it'll upload it, and it breaks it up into segments, but you can listen to it continuous. It's a really interesting new tool coming into the multimedia, social media whole thing, because like with YouTube, sometimes you can't actually watch it, you're listening to it. Well, Anchor fixes that. It's just an all audio version. Matter of fact, when I first downloaded it, I did a whole segment with Audacity and uploaded it, and it'll do that. It'll break it up into segments. Anyway, maybe I'll do a whole thing on that. I didn't get a chance to start the whole cell phone for a camera and video content thing, but that should start tomorrow. I'm going to take a week, and I'm going to do all the videos for that week. I won't be able to live stream, but I'm going to shoot it all with my phone. I think a lot of people that get started with YouTube and looking now ahead into Anchor, you don't have to go out and buy all the coolest stuff. Not when you have, especially if you have anything that's a something 6 or higher, whether it's an iPhone or Galaxy. I think spending that money elsewhere would be better suited. But I'm gonna go through a week. I'll do all my reviews and all my videos on that phone and show you what it can do. The only thing that I'm gonna add extra is the lav mics and these lights. The rest of it will all be done on the phone. So that is coming for the next week. So that is a wrap for this. The Asus X550V. Yes, you should buy it for now. Until next time, stay sharp, keep a tight shot group, and rock on.